never really spoken about this.
Nah, partner at the time sort of was like, oh, maybe I'll go and get myself looked at. The doctors sort of said, look, this assisted fertility isn't really working. 10 full cycles of
If you've done it 10 times, I'm
Yep.
assuming there's some bad news coming in this story.
We're spending about $10,000 each round. The highs and the lows of it is you do the egg collection, just hoping for a big number. Our relationship, and I always say it was at its best when we were going through those times.
I remember not even knowing. How come you never told me? You're my brother.
It got to a point where we got told this is never going to happen. Hey guys, welcome back to the Brothers Mind podcast. We're back down here at Aldinga. As Heath calls it, this place is God's country.
Well, we are, mate. Yep. We're. Thanks for coming, though.
Ah, that's all right, mate.
The plan today, Luke, is spotlight's on you, mate. It's the big one for you. It's the fertility IVF journey story.
Yep.
And I think we said from the start we were going to unpack this one.
Yeah, it's a big story, man.
I built myself up to this one, to be honest.
It's a big story.
Got a few questions prepared.
Yeah.
So let's just go straight into it, so we sort of don't take up days talking about it.
Yeah,
because
for
there's
sure.
a lot to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the things I wanted to sort of unpack straight away, though, was the media surrounding IVF is heavily geared towards women and how women feel through that process.
Yeah.
Which is understandable,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah,
I mean,
definitely. Yeah.
the trauma that goes with
yeah.
it. But from our podcast point of view and the people that follow us and watching that, and obviously being my brother, I wanted to sort of unpack it based around a male's perspective on it. Because that's something I don't think the journey's super publicised about.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Would that be fair to say, do you
Yeah.
think, from your experience?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It is like, a lot of it is around women and IVF. The first thing you think about is sort of women and ladies, and it's not really about men so much, And in my circumstances, it sort of was all around the woman and, my partner at the time.
Well, let's go through that. So tell us about your fertility journey. I mean, you obviously tried to conceive babies naturally.
Yeah, for sure. We just did it like, 90% of people out there thinking that you're just going to fall pregnant, meet a partner and have kids, like everybody sort of does. And for me, unfortunately, that path didn't really work out, So
how long was that process? So, like, how long were you guys sort of?
We were trying sort of naturally for quite some time actually. The whole process was 4.5 years.
Is this not the IVF part, the natural part?
Oh, the natural part was just trying for a year,
So about
like
a
normal
year.
people, everyday people, just go home and you want to have a baby and you start trying to make babies.
Yeah, a little bit of special cuddle time.
Yeah,
so that went on for about a year though.
Yeah, and then after that, we were sort of thinking, oh shit, what's going on? Nothing's really happening and that, and then.
So where's the point though, or talk to me about, because this is something we've actually never, to be honest, we've never really spoken about this.
No, it's a bit of a learning thing, right, as well.
So where's that conversation about, hey, we're not conceiving naturally?
Yes.
What do we do now? Like, how does that take place?
Yeah, well, you sort of then obviously start going and seeing a fertility doctor.
But whose idea? Like, who had that, the actual convo? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, it was obviously a lot of it was my partner at the time sort of was like, oh, maybe I'll go and get myself looked at, because she was a little bit older than me, right? So obviously age comes into it as a massive factor, and we then went and got involved with a fertility clinic down in Adelaide, seen some of the doctors down there, and they recommended to do assisted fertility, which is it's not like full-blown IVF. It's like they monitor you and then monitor you heavily and then tell you when you should have sex and try.
So they're sort of like
it's like the first
interjecting
step.
the process.
Yeah, it's the first step. Sort of, you do a lot of scans, blood tests,
Yeah.
you get on some different medications, some hormonal stuff, steroids and all that sort of stuff, and then it's like based around timing, right? And then they tell you when the perfect opportunity or that perfect window is to try. And then we did that for quite some time. And I remember I did a lot of work away back then, and I was driving away to Whyalla, and my partner at the time called me and was like, "Oh, the clinic's called me. You need to come home, and we need to have try to have have sex and all
So
of
it is
this."
like you see like on telly, like it's the
Yeah,
sex on schedule
yeah,
sort of
it
thing.
was like that. So we did that, and yeah, so it
So
just
that pressure though, Luke, like that must create an immense amount of pressure on a relationship, do you think?
yeah, it was so weird, man. Like, because our relationship, and I always say it, it was at its best when we were going through those times, believe
Yeah,
it or
right.
not. And a lot of relationships sort of crumble going through those times, and ours sort of seemed to be at its strongest. And it was funny, and it was so weird looking back at it, how it was so strong when you were going through such a fucked up time.
Do you think that's because you're almost galvanized together for like a common goal? You're sort of going like, we're working
Yeah.
heavily together
Yeah.
to get a result.
Yeah, 100%. And, obviously the journey that I did through IVF was 4.5 to 5 year process, right? And it was a long time, and it was our sole focus. We just lived for it. It was almost like a full-time job
Mm.
at some of the, later points when we got heavily into it. And, yeah, we just put everything into it and tried everything. We were both wanted to be parents, so it wasn't really a factor of, giving up. And there was times there where my partner at the time was like, look, you need to just find somebody else that you could have kids with. And you know what I mean? You're young, go and find another person that could have kids. And
So,
yeah.
so from a male mindset point of view, what did that do to you in that process? So you're trying to conceive, you're starting the IVF journey.
Yeah.
You've got your partner, wife at the time saying, "Look, potentially you should go and look elsewhere." Is that
Yeah.
sort of what you're saying? What sort of things were going through your head at this point?
Yeah, that's a good question,
Because
actually.
that's a lot to take.
yeah.
Like straight away. Like,
Yeah. It is. It's a good question. It was just the mental thing. I think I'm pretty mentally strong as a person anyway, and I sort of just wanted to sort of be there for the partner and support her and all of that. So I just pushed my emotions to the side and my feelings to the side about it all, and just sort of focused on her, to be honest, because obviously the problem wasn't me, right? Do you know what I mean? Like,
So can we just go back to that? Because we didn't actually get to that. And it was something I wanted to ask, but I was a little bit sort of afraid to ask
you're
you.
fine, man. No,
Is it
honestly.
okay to say
Yeah, for
who
sure.
was it that couldn't
conceive or
get
have the
pregnant?
children.
Yeah.
It obviously wasn't myself. It was my partner.
Yep.
Just had a very low egg count, believe it or not.
So that's what it is. That's what is the determining factor?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so she didn't have a big egg count, and it was just through the IVF. Once we got past the assisted fertility part, the doctors sort of said, "Look, this assisted fertility isn't really working, so you need to go down the route of actual full-blown IVF," which is
Right. So for people at home that don't understand, or
Yeah.
people like me that don't really understand,
So
it
you
starts
start
off
off
as normally trying to have sex.
Yeah, normal.
Can't have a baby.
Yeah.
So the
And then
assisted facility seems like where they really help you
Yep.
hone down on the right timing to try.
Yeah, all based on timing and
Yep.
and propping you up with a few medications along the way.
Yep. So a support system.
Yeah.
And then they come to you guys and they say, look, that's not working.
Yep.
Now we need to go down the full IVF route.
part.
Okay. So you're
Yep.
at that point.
Yep.
Mindset is you're being told potentially go and, this may, Luke.
Yeah, well, we just tried it like anything, So we tried the full IVF route, and we did that for a very long time, right? We did.
So how many times did you try? I mean, you've mentioned over
we
the
did
years
10,
a few times.
10 full cycles of
Fuck.
it.
And how long does a cycle go for? Like, do you want to? Can we
Yeah,
tell
it's-
people about an actual cycle and how it works?
Yeah, so it's sort of like they gear you up with medication again, and scans all the time to see how how the female body's reacting. And then basically a lot of drugs, a lot of self-injections at home. And then they'll bring you into the clinic, give you a scan, have a look at sort of the egg count inside the lady, and then pretty much then you go in, have day surgery, and they'll retrieve the eggs out of the female, and then I obviously go in and do my thing in downstairs in a room to get my sperm, and then that goes into the lab, and then they mix it together and fertilize. So by day 2, you normally get a phone call from the lab, and they'll say you've got 3 eggs fertilized, or they say 3, 10. You know, in my circumstance though, my partner didn't produce a lot of eggs, so that was always a bit of we were always behind the 8 ball in speak. Most sort of women are between 10 to 15, you know, and we were doing 3, you know, so 3 eggs is a very low number. And then to get them to fertilize was, you know, obviously harder as well because the quality wasn't the best.
Right.
And then, so after that, fast forward a bit with the process of it is then they normally do a transfer on like day 5, they call that.
And this is still one cycle though, isn't it?
Yeah, this is one cycle.
We're still in the one cycle.
So, this is all done in a lab in the city, right? And then come day 5, they sorry
about the extra crew member that just jumped on.
So they come day 5, you normally do the egg transfer back into the female. So then that's just another little procedure in the city. And then technically from that point on, you're sort of technically pregnant, you know, because once that egg goes back in, it's then starts turning into an embryo.
So at that point, do they sort of ring you guys up? And these might sound stupid questions, but do they ring you up and go, oh, hey, congratulations, you're pregnant now?
Yeah, well, these are sort of daily phone calls from the time the lady has an egg collection done. The lab are always in contact with you on almost like every second day to let you know how they're tracking along.
Yep.
So,
so the hope is up at this point?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, the hope is always, it's so funny you say that word, the hope. It's like the highs and the lows of it is you do the egg collection for the female and you're just hoping for a big number.
Right. So it's like harvesting.
Exactly
so
that.
So you go, right, we've harvested lots of eggs. Great. We're in.
Yep.
And then it goes down that process
and
again.
And a thing that they learn is when the female is like knocked out and they do the little day procedure, they always write a number on the back of their hand, and the number is the number of the eggs that you get collected. Wow.
They literally write it on
They write it
hand.
on, and it's a known thing through the IVF
And you're
journey.
picking up on this, obviously.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the hand going, fuck, is there a lot of eggs on there?
So we'd always have a low number, and that was always a bit shit. You know,
so then that's a low again. You come back down.
Yeah.
So you go from the high to the harvesting to finding out they're low.
Yeah. And so then you always are just like, oh shit, it's a low number. But you know, you only need 1 to make a baby. So, you know. And then it was just low numbers were our sort of what we got used to, you know, over someone producing 10 or 15. But like I said, you only needed that 1.
The mental up and down of that though must take its toll on any marriage or relationship.
Oh, look, I think it does, and I think it takes its toll more so on probably the female, to be honest. If it's like, luckily I've got good sperm and a good, you know, good quality, right? But so it wasn't really a issue for me. But obviously for the female, the disappointment and all of that is huge, right? It's huge. I think it's
Does blame come into it? I mean, if we're honest, like, I know it sounds like a really weird thing to say, but naturally, does that come into it or not at all?
No,
I
don't think so at that particular moments in time. You know, I don't think it's a blame thing. Like, I don't think you start blaming anybody. Nah,
okay, yeah.
I certainly didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because naturally there would be people out there that would have that element of blame. I'm not suggesting you did whatsoever. But I think there would be. I think
100%.
People
and that's where I think that's where relationships start falling apart.
Well, you either galvanise together, like I previously said, or you literally derail at that point.
100%, yeah.
But you're talking 10 rounds, so we're still at round 1.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And we did, we we jumped clinics halfway through. So
So tell us about that.
yeah, we
Why?
started at one clinic, and I won't mention the names of them or that on here anyway. But we started at a clinic in Adelaide, and we thought it was like the place to be at. You know, we did a bit of research, and it was recommended, and so we started there. And as we got through the journeys, we did more and more cycles. You know, and it, you know, back then we were spending about $10,000 each round, right?
So that was another question that I had, mate. So you
Yeah,
brought it up
the
early.
monetary thing.
So financially,
Yeah.
for people watching, or even for me,
Yeah.
mate, like what's the sort of cost?
Yeah.
Is it per round, or
Per
do you
round,
sort of
and
sign up
it's-
to a
it's-
subscription-y
No,
sort of
it's
thing?
nothing like
what
that.
is it?
And it's not, there's no, well, back then, there's no bloody afterpay or some magical payment plan. It's like you come.
So how much is it?
We were literally about $10,000 a round. Each round
Wow.
varies depending on certain medications and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but give or take, a round
it's-
number for
It was
people.
around the $10,000 for us. And yeah, like.
So you pay up front,
You
10
pay up
grand.
front.
Hope they harvest a lot of eggs.
Yep.
So whether they do or they don't, you ride the high of that, you
Yep.
ride the low of that, and
100%.
then you would have got, if you've done it 10 times, I'm
Yep.
assuming there's some bad news coming in this story.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, like I said, we were at one clinic and we did about 5 or 6 rounds there, and you know, you start doing the maths and you sort of start asking the questions of why, you know, why the results not there, or and my partner was heavily involved in investigating things herself, right? Doing her own research and her own questions. So obviously we were asking certain questions and not getting answers we were hoping to get back. And
Yep.
so then we sat down and we had that hard conversations of, well, are we going to jump ship and we'll go somewhere else? So we did. We pulled the trigger and we went to another fertility clinic.
In hindsight, do you think it's the clinic's fault? Like, is there a difference? Like, if you've been to 2 clinics, you've obviously got somewhat a comparison.
Look, I don't know about the clinic. I'd more say about the doctor. I'd say that different doctors are willing to try different things. Some doctors stick to, you know, that
Process.
straight line of, you know, the tick and flick sort of chart, you know, and other doctors might explore things with you, you know, as you go in there with answers or questions. Then they might go, yeah, well, we can try this, or, you know, we can try that.
So it's not one sort of glove fits all.
I don't think so. No, I don't believe in that in this in this process. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got onto a really good doctor, and it happened to be sort of the head doctor of the clinic, and yeah, we.
Can I ask why you didn't start there? Obviously, at this point, you've burned 50 grand, and you've gone through 5. Because are they called miscarriages when it doesn't take? Is that
for
what
sure?
it is?
Yeah, definitely. When nothing happens, it's technically a miscarriage. Yeah.
So your story has had 9 miscarriages ultimately.
Yeah,
Fuck,
a lot.
man.
Yeah, and you just get used to that. And I know it sounds so harsh. You just get so hardened to it almost.
Well,
know,
you almost
of a
tell
fail,
you almost tell the story like that. Like
yeah. I think you block a lot of it out, and I think probably one thing I didn't do was probably deal with it a lot myself. You know what I mean? Like I was always there for my partner at the time and supportive of that. But then I think I pushed my own self aside a lot, you know, and forgot about it.
Well, that brings me back to the mindset for the male through that period. It's that masculinity. It's
trying to be
alpha.
strong for your partner and be strong for. We didn't have a family, but if you've got other kids at home, you know, other parents might have other kids and things like that. But
On reflection, would you have done that different? Like, meaning, would you have gone and saw potentially a counsellor or a psychologist or sought extra help? I mean, through this process, I'll be honest with you. I remember I didn't even know you were doing IVF.
Yeah, we kept it a bit of we kept it on the lowdown for quite a long time actually. It was
and that'll surprise viewers, Luke. To be honest, don't you think?
Over a year and a half that nobody actually knew.
Yeah, so let's just jump to that, because that's something people probably will say, mate, you guys are so close, you do business together, you do podcasts. And hand on heart, I remember not even knowing you were doing IVF.
Yeah.
And I switch back to me telling you when we got pregnant.
Yeah.
And that was the day that I was told by mum and dad that you'd actually been doing IVF
Yeah.
for all this time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I remember in that moment saying, hey, we were pregnant with Chase. And mum and dad going, oh, just
go
be
gently
gentle
around Luke.
because
Yeah.
Luke's been having IVF for
Yeah.
over 12
Yeah.
months. And I was like, fuck,
Yeah.
how come you never told me? You're my brother. Like, I
Yeah.
know everything about you, like literally. So that must have been really hard for you. So talk to me about through that 12 months, you've ridden your highs and lows, as you said.
Yeah.
You're up to round 5 or 6 or
Mhm.
wherever you're up to.
Yep.
You galvanized together as a couple, but you've witnessed family, friends,
Oh, yeah,
brothers,
100%.
sisters get pregnant.
And that was what was happening in that particular time around that sort of halfway mark through our journey, 2.5 years in. I was at the age bracket where friends, family were all sort of having kids, and it was, one was yourself, the other one was our sister, and then one of my best mates, his wife fell pregnant as well, and it was almost like they're not kicking the guts. You're so stoked for everybody else, but it was like I just didn't really open up to tell people what we were going through. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like,
so is that what it felt like, a kick in the gut? Is that how you describe it?
it's not a kick in the guts because it's not their fault or it's not their problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not your fault, man. Like, it's not your fault that I couldn't have kids. So, like, you shouldn't feel bad, or it's just that it's just in your face is probably more the right word. Like, other people are so happy. Oh, we're pregnant, and you've got to be happy for them. Like, you can't just be like a sad sack, can you?
Well, I remember when I got pregnant, you were one of the first people that I spoke to about it, and you were absolutely over the moon.
Yeah.
And then I look back and I think, wow, how strong were you?
But that's just
and how kind were you to not bring your sadness to my story?
Well, yeah, and it was the same for like my partner as well. Like, her friends were getting pregnant, and she used to be over the moon for him, man. Like, wrapped, like. But it was just obviously behind closed doors of a night time, you have those conversations, right? And they're the tough ones, and they're the ones that sort of, I think, make couples stronger, or make couples sort of fall apart, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. So we're up to around 5 or 6.
Yeah, so we got into that new clinic in town, and it was almost like a bit of a fresh start, I think. And we tried different things, and we were trying different medications, different doctor. So things were sort of starting to look up a little bit, and then we what did we do after that? We kept going, obviously, and then we sort of hit those head-on, things again, those disappointments again.
So we're back to the failed attempts.
Yeah, back at the failed attempts. We thought, oh, it's going to work now, a new clinic, new doctor, new drugs, like different medications, and, all these new bright ideas, and then we were back to square one again. It was just a failed attempt, miscarriages and all sorts of stuff was going on.
Is there a point, Luke, where you thought about giving up the process? I mean, the financial burden, let alone the personal burden and the stresses on your marriage and relationship, and then you just touched on the mental toll from your point of view and your partner's point of view. But surely there was a point of talk of giving up, or not? Or was it never an option for you guys?
No, it wasn't. Well, look, for myself personally, I can't speak for my ex-partner, but for me, it wasn't an option of giving up. Like, I didn't have, I thought to myself, I wanted to be a dad. I knew I'd be a good dad. So I never was like, I'm not going to stop at this. I'll just find out a different way or do something differently.
Well, that's probably that mindset that you're built like, though, isn't it? Really,
yeah.
like it's like the business thing, and it's the never give up motto that we sort of live by. Isn't it?
And and my partner at the time, I don't think she was gonna give up easily either. Put it that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, she's quite
she's
resilient,
a very
isn't she?
hard sort of person anyway, a tough person. So she wasn't giving up. And so I think that's sort of what made us even stronger and tougher as well, because none of us were going to quit on it. So,
but for some people at home, they have to quit, don't they? Because the money side of it,
the financial side of it takes a big
The burden is too much, isn't it?
burden and pressure it puts on you. You know, it puts a
Mm.
lot of pressure on you. You know, but yeah, we managed to get through it and just
Yeah.
work our asses off, and it was literally like we were working to fund this. You know,
Yeah.
and
And with that comes other sacrifices, doesn't it? I mean, your potential life, investment strategies.
well, we had
or your
plans to invest in property and you
Yep.
know all sorts of stuff back then, and we had to put it on hold, put it on the back burner, really, because our main focus was trying to have children.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
at $10,000 a pop, I mean,
It's
it added up pretty quick.
yeah.
It's a pretty easy
It
calculation,
is,
isn't it?
It is. It's an
Yeah.
expensive exercise, and I don't wish it upon anyone.
So we get to round number 9 or
Yep.
so. We're around that number now.
Yep.
When was the point of this is going to happen?
I actually
Talk us about that now, you know?
Well, it got to a point where we got told this is never going to happen. So it wasn't a point where it was going to happen. It was a point of, I remember, and it was a double appointment in the city, and we walked in, and the doctor was actually a professor. So she was really good, and she said to us, "Look, you in the best way a doctor can explain it to you." She goes, "Look, I think you guys need to start exploring something else." And we were like, "Oh, what do you mean by something else?" You know, and
Well, what's the something else? Like, forgive me for another
Yeah,
silly question, but
and
what's
don't get
the
me
something
wrong,
else?
I was the same. You know, I'm just a tradie. I'm not fucking an
Yeah, so you're
educated
sitting there
doctor,
with this
man.
professor.
I'm sitting there with a female professor who's 50, 60 years old, and she's saying to me, "Look, you know, this isn't looking very great. You've tried 10 rounds of this, you know, 10 cycles. You've been to 2 different clinics."
Is there a number where there's a cutoff point?
Well, I think this was
Or is 10 the
we
number?
were obviously getting to that point where they almost felt fucking sorry for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're spending money, but you're not getting a result. So I think maybe they thought, "Oh, fuck, you know, these guys need to give up." Or
Yeah. So is that what you felt in that moment? Like you
I
sort of
did,
felt
I
they
thought,
were coming
this
to you.
This is the words of, "You guys need to stop."
Yeah,
Like,
right.
And I was like, "Oh, this isn't going to end very well for me," you know.
I'm never going to have kids at this point.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly what
Yeah.
I thought. And that was the kind way of a doctor saying, "You're not going to have kids."
How do you get your head around that?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's just,
Like
I
that-
suppose the questions come automatically. Like, what else can we do? Have we tried everything?
So at this point, you're still accepting no for an answer?
Yeah, I wasn't. And prior to that, by about round 9, I think my partner started looking into going to the US and exploring some stuff, because they got some slightly different rules over there than what we do over here in Australia with the IVF sort of thing.
Yeah,
and that.
right.
And obviously the path of a donor came up, obviously, in conversations. And, you know, it was a hard pill to get my head around, you know.
So what's a donor?
So
What do you mean
donor-
by a donor?
Well, look, it can work both ways, right? For a male who obviously might, you know, it could be yourself. It's obviously not, you've got kids, but someone that can't, their sperm is basically dud, you know. Like,
Right.
so a male might need a sperm donor.
So that's a
So the
donor means somebody
female-
else's sperm
Yep.
gets injected into your partner.
Yes. So then, you know, you might be having bloody not good sperm, and your partner might be totally fine to be able to have children. So then you'd need a sperm donor. In my case, I needed an egg donor. So I needed a female.
Because the egg count when they harvest was low.
And yeah, and some of the quality of the eggs weren't the best. You know, they sort of, you know, in doctor talk, they sort of call it scrambled eggs, you know.
Or they actually use that term.
Yeah, we sort of spoke differently with our doctor and got
Well, you're a bit
quite
straightforward,
friendly,
are you,
and
mate?
you know what I mean. So yeah, with us they did.
All right, guys, we're just going to pop a pin in it there because we are at our time limit for the episode, but we're going to jump back for episode 2 of the IVF story because there's a lot more to unpack, guys. So stay tuned, keep following. That's Ep 1, Ep 2 coming, and we'll continue the story on.